Welcome back to another video. This thing brings back a lot of memories for me. This is over 1,000 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, 5-cylinder Golf Mark 1. Let's take a look around this, because this for me is one of my childhood dream cars. So if anyone doesn't know this car, they're not my age. So this was the king back in the early 2000s. Let's get excited, let's pop the bonnet, and let's have a look under here. So here is the engine. What can I say? You don't expect to see a 5-cylinder in a Golf Mark 1. As you will have heard, this is around 1,000 horsepower. It's not been fully dynoed to that number, but the turbos are 40 hybrid turbo, different back housing for spool, and a giant 60mm gate. Again, wind the boost up on this thing, it'll make 1,000 horsepower with these. And anyone who knows the AAN engine will know these engines can make some phenomenal numbers. I remember this car so well from 10 of the best. It was an unreal machine. It was basically an event where 10 cars and you go up against each other, but it was kind of like fastest tuners and cars around the country, and this was always the one which stood out. This thing was insane. At the time, 5-cylinder Audi Quattro engine, but it was all-wheel drive. So this thing would always win the 0 to 60s, the quarter miles. But now this has been adapted. It's been away for probably 10 years. The past 2 years they've been fighting gearbox issues. They are now finally dialing it in. And 2024, they are going to chase for the 8-second quarter mile. And honestly, this thing just makes me smile. This is a piece of nostalgia. It's near enough full trim in here. Because again, Grant does use this on the road. So all the road cage been painted, still got carpet, still got dash, still got headlining. So just to put this in perspective, an 8-second car, Golf Mark 1 with full trim. And still a sunroof. Unreal. Look on the outside. Obviously, as you can see, full wide arches. So they took the 5-cylinder, used that, the 6 or 5-speed gearbox, and obviously the rear diff. The Audi Quattro, which obviously, ironically, this one there, is so much wider than the Golf Mark 1. So they had to put these huge extensions on to make it so it was the same track. So I would have thought that is for, so they can use the drive shafts and all that type of thing. It is actually using the original shockers and knuckles and subframe. So basically, and that is the reason why this thing would hit 0 to 60s in low 3s, high 2s, and it would win everything. So we've been able to get underneath and have a look. Obviously rear diff panel, it's got this rear diffuser on. But again, I always thought back in the day this had a floor pan swap, but it's not. It's still the original Golf Mark 1 floor pan, but tunnelled out for the time when, obviously I remember this car back at 10 of the best. It was still on the 6-speed Audi box, and they converted to 4-wheel drive, but now it's rear-wheel drive with the power glide. Now I've worked on Audis a lot. I suppose I expected it to sit a lot more forward, because obviously you've got to get the front drive shafts out to the wheels, but it sits relatively tidy in the engine bay. It's all standalone management. It's on obviously coil on plugs, like something like an NGK R8 style. What size injectors are we on? 1500s. Oh, have you got? Oh, I didn't see the second bank. It's on 888s. Old school 550s as well. Wow, right. Yeah, 8 injectors, modified, standard inlet manifold. Where's the rear end? Before we dive in, as you can see, it's a lot wider on the arches, as I've described earlier on, to take for the Quattro floor pan type width. Tells me all the bumpers are Golf Mark 2, because it is that slightly wider, which you needed to suit the arches. Everything's been cut out for the radiator, for the airflow to assist it, because again, the radiator is in the boot because of that 5-cylinder engine. So it has one seat, normal steering wheel, one's for a line lock to do a burnout, one is for a trans brake. We've just had a discussion about a trans brake because it's something that's always intrigued me for drag racing, because I've never seen them done, but that sounds like an experience. I'll go into that probably in another video. And there's obviously the power glide shifter. It does have an automatic shifting facility. Basically, you can literally hold on, and then when you set a certain RPM or load, it will automatically click into second gear, because it is only a 2-speed. But then he had some issues when he was setting up last time, which ended up ended up crashing into one of the walls at Santa Pod. So he's kind of got to the point where he's a bit nervous, so he's kind of left that be. But what is interesting that I've learned today is, as people who follow my stuff, is I'm building one of these. I was going to change the inlet manifold, but if this can flow 1,000 horsepower on that factory inlet manifold, which I have, which is off the S6 estate, I'm going to stick with that. And he he tells me the only thing he's changed in the future is to a larger ability throttle body, but previous 10 of the best days, it was just on the standard size. There's the 2-speed power glide. It's all been adapted to suit the 4-wheel drive system in this monster car. It's unreal. And obviously you can see the intercooler coming up there. But again, if you look, everything's been adapted to suit kind of like an Audi Quattro engine bay, because if you look at an Audi Quattro, this is the original factory mounting points, which is there and there from an Audi Quattro. They basically box sectioned them out to suit. Unreal under here. To say I used to watch this back at 10 of the best and now I'm stuck underneath it. Something tells me we're not breaking that transmission and drive shaft. So anyone who also knows, Aki sump, that's looks like a pressurised tank to assist oil pressure so it doesn't drop on the engine. Also looks like it's got flex fuel sensor, so I would have thought it's for ethanol-based fuel for the future, or maybe it's on ethanol now. It's on a Powerglide 2-speed, which if you just look down there, you can see the adapter plate where it's all bolted up. 2-speed, because he was having problems potentially snapping the input shaft on the 6-speed or 1E box, I think the class does. But no, this thing is insane. I never would have thought, like say 20 years ago, when I was at 10 of the best, I'd be stood in front of this thing, filming it and having a look round. And then looking in here, there's the nitrous bottle, which is still dialing in. And obviously the back with the air intakes because the radiator's in the boot. And again, some pressure gauge down there. I'm unsure what that's for. What it's to do with the pressure for the trans. E-boost controller. A lot of people seem to use these back in the day. They've kind of gone to ECU control now, but some people still like using them. Still all the nice air vents. But what can I say? Full AIM dash, aim dash. What a lovely thing inside. Still got all the original door panels, door locks, window adjusters. Because again, this was always used for a road vehicle, because that's what 10 of the best was. It was always 10 of the best. They had to be road legal, and obviously they had to make numbers. What is interesting, dial links performance. They used to be, I don't know if they're still going, to be fair, they used to be the proper forefront of Audi Quattro development and short wheelbases back in the day. And I remember watching a video of all these guys, Grant, Dial Links, there was Ian Birch in the twin engine Golf, and they would all do the 0 to 60 events, and they'd all battle it out. Crazy to think, like I say, some of these cars I'm sat in front of nowadays and they're still going and they're still making numbers. I think even Grant will admit, I don't think he'd ever thought 20 odd years ago his little Golf would be aiming for 8 seconds on the quarter mile. In the boot area we have obviously the radiator with the twin fans, obviously, because you've got to think of, with having the 5-cylinder, you can't fit it at the front. Giant fuel tank, trans cooler, because if anyone, again, I don't really know about the power glides and the like the drag style trans, but I just remember when I watched stuff like Street Outlaws, they always talk about transmission temperatures and it causing problems. So I would have thought that's the reason why it's got a trans cooler. There's the battery, and there's 2 fuel pumps. The fuel pumps, I'm being told, are staged, so it's got one very large one, one medium sized one, and then as it goes up the rev range, up the boost power, it'll stage a pumping. Number of reasons: fuel temperature, current draw, all that type of thing. That's why that's done. But as you can see, all the air blows in, which is then ducted in to the radiator area. This is just a phenomenal little thing. I love it to bits. There's the radiator area. So if anyone wants to know more about this car and what they do, this is obviously gpturbos.com, which obviously Grant now does a lot of hybrid turbos, develops turbos, all turbo types of engineering. And if anyone remembers back in the day, there was a company still going today called AET Turbos. He used to basically manage and run that. He's now come away and does all the hybrids. So if anyone's looking for like, a diesel hybrid or something like that, definitely hit these guys up. Grant can definitely help you. And as you can see, he certainly knows what to do with the turbo, because he's took the wheel off. Look at that. And obviously I would have thought that's a nitrous spool injector in there or something like that to help spool the turbo. I'm blown away with this. And also I didn't pick up on what he had said, it's obviously got what looks like water meth injection as well, which it looks like, to assist in cooling. It's just unreal. I'm blown away with this thing, because like I say, I remember this when I was in my early 20s, just demolishing everything. Taking me back to when I was 20 again, at 10 of the best, seeing all these cars, getting the bug, getting enthralled and wanting to go fast, because as I've said before, 10 of the best, them early days were the reason why I built my car into what it was. So this thing definitely brings back some nostalgia. And again, this channel is allowing me to go and see all these cars from back in the day and bring them back and show them you and basically relive my 20s. So we'll sign this one off, and I'm looking forward to watching this in 2024. Fingers crossed they'll let his 8s We'll follow his journey. So we'll sign it off, and I'll see you all on the next video.